So I put my head under the water. I went like this, and just the whole thing lost it all. The wig just went flying. Everyone lost their minds while I was filming season one. The entire time, the entire time, I had my laptop onto one television show that ran on repeat. There are a lot of people, across the world who watch the shows, and you don't want to let anyone down.
Welcome. My name's Kevin, and this is the Bible Artist Podcast. And I'd like to thank Dav Coretti for joining us today. Dav is an actor who's appeared in several shows, including both The Chosen and The Promised Land. In The Promised Land, he plays Chisisi, a Egyptian soldier who survives the destruction of Pharaoh's army in the Red Sea event. And then he makes kind of bumbling efforts to fit in and pass as an Israelite as they're going through the wilderness. And then in The Chosen, he's a Sadducee who is present at the raising of Lazarus, that big moment in season 4. And so, Dav, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, so, I want to ask you about both these roles and both kind of these shows that you've been able to participate in, because they're both kind of in my wheelhouse, Bible shows. And so I've been really interested in both. They're, definitely very different kind of tones and stuff, but doing interesting things. And yeah, I've really enjoyed both shows a lot. So I want to start with The Promised Land, I think, because that's kind of one of your bigger roles from between the two. And then we'll work our way back to The Chosen. So yeah, the pilot for The Promised Land that was released this past summer, and it was a big hit. At least I really enjoyed it. In my review of it, I kind of praised it both for what it did with the biblical text. It was like surprisingly respectful of the biblical text, and yet at the same time, it was really funny. It was like genuine comedy. It didn't feel like just kind of a few superficial jokes sprinkled over things. So somehow they did that balance really well, and I really enjoyed it. But for those who haven't been able to watch The Promised Land before, could you give kind of a quick elevator pitch for what the show is?
Absolutely. So The Promised Land is a mockumentary style biblical comedy with both history and heart. There are going to be some characters that you've read about in the Bible, and there's going to be some new ones you've never heard about along the way.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm curious, what kind of, did you like get connected to the project? How did you get kind of interested in it? Could you tell a little bit about your kind of intro to it?
Well, so of the series regulars, if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm the only self-submission. The rest of them, they were submitted through their agents and managers, and I was self-submission, which is incredibly rare to get a series regular position, a role from a self-submission. They're not usually there, especially a product so good, so well written. They usually don't trickle down. Now I had representation. I don't know what happened there. They missed the ball. It's okay. It happens. They have a lot of clients, but it happened nonetheless. Now, what drew me to the project as an actor, you look at your portfolio and your history and you wonder what your legacy is going to be. And this is a project that you can be proud of, that you can show your kids. You know what I mean? My son was just born. I had just been born 8 months before when, yeah. So, this was for him. And I looked at the roles, and now it's very rare that an Egyptian Italian has so many roles that they fit for in one project.
Hmm.
But I really did. And of course, I picked Chisisi for two reasons. One, he's Egyptian and so am I. I'd love to play an Egyptian, and now I get to. It's wonderful.
Hmm.
And two, I love his story, salvation, work in progress, because that's how I see myself.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
a cool way to put it. We've just gotten kind of the pilot, but yeah, gives me a little like context or insight into the character that
Yes.
makes me like excited for kind of where things are going with him.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. That's why I
Yeah.
was excited to connect with him.
So yeah, like I kind of said in the intro, so your character, he's a Egyptian, so he came with Pharaoh's army, and then everybody else got drowned in the Red Sea, and then
Yes.
we get kind of in that pilot, we see a quick scene of him kind of climbing out of the water, and then like
Yeah.
grabbing someone else's cloak and and just trying to.
Yeah.
So you already kind of shared like why it's kind of meaningful to you, getting to play Egyptian character, getting to play a character who is kind of a work in progress and stuff like that. What's kind of been like fun about your character, especially given it being a comedy?
Let me tell you, I get to play I've gotten to play all different types of roles. And the most fun are the roles that have discovery, where things are new to them. And
Mm,
there is so much growth for those characters. So many different places you can go. And that to me is really art mimicking life, because that's just kind of the human experience. That's the
mm,
reality. It's very seldom we're in life pigeonholed. It does happen, unfortunately. But for the most part, thankfully, us Americans in our day-to-day life, we do have options.
mm.
And these options lead to discovery and new experience. And that's what I see as Chisisi. I'm excited, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes, and he must play a important role just from like kind of the construction of the show, like to have a character in the show who is kind of new to the dynamics of the Israelite camp, having kind of that window character that we can discover things through as well. Yeah, but then that also leads to a lot of kind of comedic moments where random or things that are like very unexpected, we can kind of see them through his eyes where he's like, oh wow, that just happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is fun. You know what I mean? That's fun. That's funny.
Mm,
So there's that aspect, and then there's the salvation aspect, which
mm-hmm,
is also beautiful in and of itself. It's
mm,
just there's so much room,
mm.
for Chisisi, and just so many different places it can go. And you never know. Like, he was an Egyptian soldier. He could fall back into his old habits. You never know.
Yeah, I was kind of interested in that because in like the kind of the biblical story, as the Israelites are coming out of Egypt, the Bible never mentions your specific character, like an Egyptian soldier who's pretending to be an Israelite or anything like that. But it does talk about how the Israelites themselves kind of feel this push and pull, like they want to get out of slavery, but at the same time they keep looking back to Egypt and remembering all the nice things there. So it almost
Well,
feels like they're,
change can be hard.
yeah, yeah,
Change is hard. But when you're in a situation, and for the Israelites, it was dire, change is necessary.
mm,
And sometimes it has to come through pain and suffering. And that's exactly, kind of what ended up happening.
mm,
Now, if I'm not, historically speaking, there were many Egyptians that joined the
yeah,
tribes
yeah,
on the Exodus. I believe Erev Rev is Hebrew. That is what they're Erev Rev. And I believe it means mixed multitude. And it included Egyptians and some other folks there that joined the tribes for their exodus, and they played an integral role
mm-hmm,
in that story. And so, in a big way, I think CC represents those folks there. And being an Egyptian who's also
mm,
Catholic, that's just another one of those other connections that I have with Chisisi.
yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, being someone who it sounds like has kind of a faith background, I'm sure kind of going into this show, you have a desire to, on the one hand, kind of respect the stories here and the biblical text, but on the other hand, it is a comedy and you're wanting to entertain people. You don't want it to feel too didactic or like heavy
Sure.
handed or anything like that.
Yeah.
So what's it? Yeah, I know I had a conversation with Mitch Hudson, the director, and I could tell that he was very thoughtful about how he was trying to balance those things. But I'm curious, as an actor, what's it like to kind of balance like wanting to respect these stories, but also wanting to be funny and like playful and stuff like that.
That's a great question, Kevin. And, when we were filming the pilot, we filmed it in New Mexico, Carlsbad, New Mexico. And we were there for about a week. And so we had some lunch and dinners together, and we spent time, and we were talking about just that. The immense pressure that we feel to not just get it right, but, nobody wants to be blasphemous. That's not what this is. And I think intention means a lot. And it's more than that. It shows it in the work.
Mm,
And I think if you look at it through that eye, understanding that no, we are taking this incredibly seriously. But
Hmm.
if you want to look at the story in of itself, a lot of ridiculous things happen. So what's wrong with making light? No,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
No. Making light, not making fun.
Yeah.
Um, and 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 your intentions are what really I think differentiate those two things
Mm.
right there, because that can be a very fine line to tote. But I feel we do it well. I feel a good bit of it has to do with Mitch, as you know. The guy is so well suited
Mm.
for what he does. He is incredibly talented when it comes to not just the direction and the writing, which is um, wow, but casting,
Mm.
control,
Mm.
and you put it in his hands. You trust him,
Mm.
and you do the work,
Yeah.
and it comes out correct. So
Mm.
we were nervous about it. We talked a lot about it, but the more and more we worked it that first week in Carlsbad, we saw that putting our faith and our trust in Mitch was the right way to go. We did it, and if you watch it, you'll see. I think that collectively we all did a very great job, and it was it started from the top down. Mitch and Richie Johns, our executive producer, also gives us a great environment to not just be artists and create, but also learn and grow. And that has to do, that's a big part of the story of the Exodus, not just for Chisisi, for everyone. And you'll
Yeah.
see that, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. So during seminary, I actually did my one of my like big papers on the the passage that is kind of behind the pilot episode. So I was like having so much fun with it because like I was like, oh wow, this is a very good like adaptation of the
Sure.
text that's
Yeah,
there. Like
I agree.
it is like very true to what's going on, but like also very funny. And I like it's a pass like there are a lot of biblical moments like that where as I've read through it, sometimes you're like, oh, that's kind of a funny moment. Like, so I
Yeah,
feel like when I saw them like going with that story as the opening for the pilot, I was like, oh, this is a great story to focus on, and just in general during the wilderness, there's going to be a lot of funny moments that I'm looking forward to.
yeah,
So yeah, great job. Yeah, it seems like Mitch and just the entire team, I can definitely tell that kind of intention to both to balance, yeah, that respect, but also the humor.
yeah. Well, we went with care. It wasn't lost on us. And I want everyone to know that, a lot of thought
Mm,
was put in it on all our parts.
mm, that's awesome. Yeah, I actually I don't know too much about comedic acting, like just in general.
Sure.
I didn't do a ton of acting like in when I was younger, and this is the first like comedic role that I've done an interview for. So I'm curious, what do you feel like is kind of what are some of the differences between uh, doing a more kind of straight dramatic role versus doing a more kind of comedic take on a character like Chisisi?
So for me personally with Chisisi, I try to keep it as grounded as possible within the context of somebody who's just so out of place, just the most extreme out of place while trying to stay grounded. There is a balance in there that makes no sense whatsoever, but I feel like I nail it if I do say so myself. But the idea is to stay serious. When you get the script and you dissect it, it's all pretty much the same from drama to comedy. It's a serious situation for me. Now there are going to be ridiculous things that happen.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's okay to laugh. It's okay for the character to react accordingly. But we have to keep in mind, especially for me, listen, it's life or death, and that element has to be there. So that's job one.
Mm,
Is setting the groundwork. You have to have your intentions and your goals. That's going to be the same no matter what the project is. Intentions and goals, whether it's a comedy or a drama, they're still going to be the same according to the script. And it's the script in and of itself, which either will or won't be funny.
yep.
And that's a Mitch Hudson home run.
Mm,
It
yeah.
really is. If you take anything from this interview, please take this. I called it. Mitch is going to go places.
Mm,
That dude knows what he's doing. Now, guys, I'm not a spring chicken. Been doing this since I left high school. As soon as I left high school, this is what I was going to do. I was in the army. 11 happened. I'm old, so I had to go do that. And then back to work.
Hmm.
And yeah, worked with a lot of great directors, Academy Award nominated. And wow, yeah, Mitch is he's 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 extraordinary. So when you have it really is trust the work,
Hmm.
set your goals.
Hmm.
If it's funny, it will be funny, and you won't really have to try. And that's
Hmm.
exactly what it is. It's effortless.
Hmm. Yeah. Actually, while you're talking about kind of your path to acting and stuff like that, I'm curious, what got you into acting to begin with? Like, what is kind of the thing that you enjoy most about it, or that's kind of led you, especially if you kind of got bitten by that bug kind of so early on. I'm curious.
When I was a kid, I sang and danced. I was in a little boy band. We won't get
Hmm.
into that right now. Uh, I was also in the performing arts program in my high school. They had a school to college program you had to try out to get into. And I had done community theater when I was like 15 years old. This was my first community theater production. So after that, my parents, my family, we were always just kind of in the arts. You know what I mean? My sister sang a little bit. And, you know, like my cousins in Egypt, one of them is a set director.
Hmm.
She dresses sets for like Academy Award in Egypt, like winning films.
Wow.
She's like famous, not even kidding. And yeah, my other cousin, she works in animation. So it wasn't too far off that, you know, that one of us ended up in the, on the performance side. So yeah, I did that community theater production when I was 15 years old. And then I went into a school to college program when I was in high school, which was half of my day was all performance-based acting. And then, you know, 9/11 happened to me. About a year in service, got injured, left, and went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City. You know, I'm all there, just hit the ground running and ran forward. But interestingly enough, talk to a lot of, you know, actors and actresses, and they'll will say, you know, what was the movie that did it or performance that did it? And, you know, most times I think you'll find that most male actors are inspired by another male actor's performance. Not me. Interesting fact, it was Kate Winslet's performance in Titanic.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's what did it for me.
What
Yeah, it was
what
her.
about it? I'm curious.
Can't remember. I just
Okay.
remember sitting at my front window of my house. I had just watched the movie in the theater, long movie.
Hmm.
But I had seen The English Patient like a year before. That was longer. So at a young age, like I had already learned to relax and enjoy the cinema. But, you know, I was already performing at that point too. But it wasn't, you know, at that point I was still very much in sports and you know, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And yeah, I was sitting in my front window and just thinking about the movie, and I was like, I want to do that. And I was thinking about her specifically. It was her
Hmm.
performance. Yeah,
That's
I don't know
awesome.
why. It moved me.
So when it comes to like kind of characters like Chisisi, because it's kind of a common, I don't know, archetype or trope to have like the character who doesn't quite fit in and who's discovering things and trying to like pretend and, you know, kind of bumbling along the way, that kind of thing. Are there any kind of similar characters like that that you've really enjoyed or that have even kind of provided some inspiration to you or?
So, while I was filming season one, the entire time, the entire time, I had my laptop onto one television show that ran on repeat. And that television show was Ted Lasso. For whatever reason, Ted Lasso, when I would rehearse my lines, it was in the background, it just felt right. When I wanted to get prepared in the mentally in the mornings that I wanted to listen to music, I was like, put on some Ted Lasso, listen to
Hmm.
Be Sweet. And it was that show. Yeah. Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I can see like, you know, Ted is a fish out of water, like going into a completely new culture where he doesn't fit
Yeah.
in, he doesn't know the rules.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can totally see the connections there. Obviously, there are some differences too, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I love Ted Lasso, so
Fantastic show.
yeah,
Fantastic.
such a feel good show also.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I'm going to be doing it, you know,
Hmm.
from here on out. Season two, season three, four, however long they'll let me do it. I will be watching Ted Lasso while we film. You can rest assured. Like, oh, they're filming right now. I'm gonna watch Ted Lasso and watch it with Chisisi. Yep.
That's awesome. So you guys, you have finished filming for season 1, and it sounds like it's kind of in post production, and I think they're hoping to get it out this year. I don't know if they have a exact date announced yet, but yeah, I don't know if people are kind of excited for more Promised Land. Like, um, yeah, anything you can share about kind of what's ahead for the show?
Well, I am certainly excited as well. Things that I just, so, when you go through an experience like this, you have highlights in your head of like scenes and stuff like that. And dude, episode 1 had a lot of funny Chisisi stuff, and yet top 10, not even the funniest.
Mm,
And that I'm excited for. I can't wait to see them. As a viewer, I
mm,
can't wait to see them. So if you guys are excited, yeah, me too. So that's something we share.
mm. That's awesome. Yeah. Anything you can share about kind of what's ahead for, I mean, I guess just kind of what we see in the Bible. Like, we're probably
Yeah.
on our way
Yes.
to Mount Sinai, and
Yes.
I can see a lot of comedic potential around some of the events that are happening there.
Yes.
So yeah, I know you probably can't give any like spoilers or anything like that, but
No.
yeah.
I can't. Well, I think if you go like onto the Promised Land fan page on Facebook and Instagram, you'll be able to see a few things that could hint to a few things. Yeah. But I don't want to give away too much. But in that regard, I would definitely direct you, everyone, to go check out the Instagram and Facebook page and check out some photos. Because I could say whatever, but it's going to be so much cool if you see it. And if you see it without the context, you'll still be surprised when you see it.
Cool.
That's my answer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm really excited, especially based on what you said about like kind of the top 10 aren't not even in the pilot, top 10 favorite moments. So yeah,
Not even the
because
top 10 Chisisi favorite moments, let alone all together. There's a lot of good stuff.
yeah,
Really good
I'm
stuff.
really excited. When we watched it, my wife was like a little more on the skeptical side of like, sometimes like Christian like shows and like attempts at comedy can fall flat. But
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh wow, this is like really funny." Like we were both laughing within like the first scene and laughed throughout. Um, so yeah, if anyone has gotten this far into listening to this interview and you haven't watched the pilot yet, definitely go check that out on YouTube because it's a lot of fun. Do you know if the future season is going to be on YouTube or if it's going to are they still kind of working that out?
I don't know for sure
Okay, yeah.
where. I don't know for sure where. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure if you follow the Instagram and the Facebook page, I think there's like an email as well. I'm sure they'll be given updates on details like that. But
Yes.
yeah,
Our direct image Hudson just today put out a live, I believe, or a reel on Instagram and Facebook, directing everyone to a new email list that's direct with him. He's going to be giving direct updates and everything like that with him. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Now that I'm mentioning it, I really, really wish I would have remembered. But
I'll find
like I
it and
said, check it
I'll
out.
put in the show notes. So
That'd be great. Thanks, Kev.
yeah, anyone who's watching this,
Thank
they'll
you.
be able to see it.
Thanks.
So yeah, cool. Well, let's turn to The Chosen a little bit too, because you
Okay.
have also appeared in The Chosen as well.
Yes. Yes.
A little bit briefer role, but like a really like big episode that you got to be
Yeah.
in. So you were in episode 7 of season 4. I know
Yeah.
by this point for you that was like what, like a year and a half ago, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it'll be
more
two
than that.
years, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So probably feels farther back to you than to viewers who saw
Yeah.
it a little more recently. But yeah, you were in one of those, probably the biggest moment of the season where Jesus, he calls Lazarus out of the tomb. And so your character is the Sadducee who's there, who's watching with, I think it's like Yusuf's father. There's a couple of like the friends of Lazarus. He's with them, I believe.
Yes, Yusuf's father is there, played by a fantastic actor, Ariel.
Hmm.
And then there's the other cast member to the Promised Land is in that
Yeah.
scene, Majid Sayas.
Mm.
He is he plays Aaron on the Promised Land, but in that particular scene, he's the lawyer for
Mm,
the family of Lazarus. He is their attorney, and yeah, I while it was 2 years ago, I remember filming that quite vividly. I mean,
mm,
it was just an experience. I definitely got emotional afterwards, like right when we were breaking for lunch, and I ended up being a little embarrassed by that.
mm.
But I was going through a lot. It was a heck of a day for me. That was my birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we filmed that on my birthday.
Mm.
So, my family was at home and I was away and, you know, yeah, it was, being on that set in and of itself, there is weight, when you get there, but everyone's so sweet. I've never been on a set like that where everyone kind of just presents their best self to you. That's,
I hear that from like, I've interviewed a few actors from The Chosen, and everyone that I talk to just, yeah, gushes about how just the
yeah,
culture of the set, it sounds like, is just really encouraging and uplifting for everyone who's there.
it's almost, from an actor who, has been in the industry for so long, it's almost confusing, um, because I'm just so not used to that kind of environment. But I'll tell you, I'm grateful for the experience. It kind of gave me an idea of what I want the environment to be on set of the Promised Land. Understand what a good set is and a nice environment. And it's exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
because
nice.
like being like one of the recurring characters in the Promised Land and coming in early, yeah, you could get to kind of help like set kind of the tone
Yeah.
for,
Set the tone.
yeah.
Exactly. Inspiring is what it was, to be honest. It was daunting. These are words that I think of when I think of that day, when I think of the weight of that experience. You want to do well. You know, there are a lot of people, across the world who watch The Chosen and you don't want to let anyone down. So there is, but like I said, when you go to that set and everyone was so sweet. That's why it was just so confusing. Usually when you're on that set, it's like, you know what I mean? You
Mm,
leave there without knowing what just happened.
mm,
There it wasn't. It was like everything kind of slowed down. I remember so much of it, all the experience. Yeah, it was really cool. Gorgeous set.
mm,
Dallas was wonderful.
mm.
Everyone was accessible. Jonathan was great. We had so fun little story. When we filmed the Promised Land, the pilot episode, the 2 days I filmed, because we fit all my stuff down in 2 days, it rained on both days. Even when I had to come out of that freezing water, that lake, yeah, it was freezing. Like, then I'm not joking, like freezing, like 20 degrees, something like that. And so lots of funny stuff happened on that actually. There was this one point where like they needed me to come out wet. So like, all right, wet your body again. So like I go under and I come out. Now I don't have it now. I grew it for the rest of season one. I guess I can mention this. I had hair down to my shoulders. So, but for the pilot, they had braids. They had fake hair because I didn't then. I cut it all off and I miss it already. But that's a different story. So I put my head under the water. I went like this and just the whole thing lost it all. The wig just went flying. Everyone lost their minds. I really hope they kept some of that footage. There's some funny stuff there. Yeah, but also with the rain being on the Promised Land, the first day that I went to go film The Chosen, it rained. Brought the rain with me. And so it was like thunder and lightning and we had to put filming off and we had some downtime and I got to spend just a good Jonathan, very accessible, came over, hung out, talked to me for like 30 minutes. I felt like, the pressure that you feel when you're around a big star, but he was just so normal and down to earth. That faded away really quick and it's just turned into a really easy conversation. And that's just kind of how everybody is there. They make it a point so that even the visitors on set, they had visitors that day, some visitors there, and they're like, be sure to go out and, talk to everybody. And I was like, oh, okay, and didn't think I'd be interesting, but they were wonderful people. I remember them. And, yeah, it just goes with part of their culture over there
Mm,
at the Chosen, you know, um, some people wanted to be there, needed to be there, needed the experience for themselves, and they were there, and they got the experience that they deserved. you know? It is as beautiful as you've heard.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I know. So you were just in that one episode in season 4, right? Are you? Did you return at all for season 5 or?
Not for season 5. We'll see what happens with season 6. Within my contract, when I was learning about my character, even it was definitely open-ended to the idea that my character, we'll see. It depends on I was in time and where the story, so we'll see. Yeah, but I'm ready, Dallas.
Yeah, yeah. When we were kind of emailing, it struck me for the first time that so your character is a Sadducee, and it struck me for the first time how significant it was that he was the one present at the raising of
Yeah,
Lazarus, because the Sadducees, they were the sect that did not believe in the resurrection of the dead, and so
that's right.
that this moment is like really big for him because it's kind of like shattering
Yeah,
kind of all of his preconceptions and worldview and stuff.
and it sets into place some pretty, yeah, sets into place some pretty, the rest of, well,
Some
as you
good
know,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, like it's fun how with the Chosen, like even like yeah, even like smaller characters, there can be kind of an entire world to that character, or just
yeah,
a depth there. So yeah,
yeah,
it's really cool that
yeah,
yeah, just see
yeah.
what they've been
Dallas is
able to
unbelievable
do.
with that.
Yeah,
Dallas is unbelievable with that.
yeah,
That's one of the many things he's fantastic at.
yeah,
And bringing the story to life, and not I wouldn't say a modern way, but in a way that the way that it's filmed is certainly triggers a familiarity in
yeah,
the viewer, as opposed to most faith-based projects. And another faith-based project that is going to be coming out soon that I think is going to have that same quality is the King David thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
I
really
auditioned for that actually a
interested.
couple times already. Yeah, yeah, we'll see, but it looks great. Have you seen the
Yeah,
trailer?
yeah, I've seen the trailer. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be covering that one. Looking forward to digging into that because yeah, it looks like very, like, again, just like The Chosen, like high quality. You can't see too much from the trailer, but you get the sense of like a lot of care in the storytelling and
Yeah,
everything. So
and the very little I read of the script of those, yeah, it looks like it's going to be great too, and that's exciting. The success with other faith-based projects is success for us as well. Yeah,
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 yeah, no,
so we're
it
excited.
definitely seems like we're kind of in a season where, especially just kind of specifically biblical stories and biblical adaptations, like, yeah, the Promised Land, The Chosen, House of David. Yeah, it's just amazing to see all these new shows and projects happening at the same time. Um, yeah,
And what
it's
a time. Couldn't be, but it's a perfect time in our history.
yeah,
Don't you agree? Like with
yeah,
everything that's going on.
yeah,
What more else could we use? Could we need right now besides, a story that we all know
yeah,
and told in a way that everyone can relate? That's what's
yeah,
so important about Chisisi. Is his salvation, should he be blessed with it, is going to be a familiar story that all of us are going to be able to relate to.
mm, that's a good note to kind of, as we're kind of wrapping up, just to yeah, it makes me really excited for where the character's going.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
we've all been kind of in situations where we're fish out of water and we don't know what's going on. And yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes, God just shows up and we're able to bumble around and eventually kind of
yeah.
encounter him in surprising ways.
Yeah, it kind of shows it's okay to stumble your way through life because God's
Yeah,
got the plan, not you.
yeah.
And you're just your job is to experience.
Hmm.
And I think that's what CC does.
That's great. Well, I guess before we go, anything else that you want to share, either Promised Land or anything else that you're working on or anything else you're doing?
Well, so when we were filming season 1, we had I want to give special recognition to the extras that came out. They came out because they loved the pilot. We've been so fortunate to have a fan base that cares that much and has been such a key part of our community. We kind of call them our tribes. If you go
Hmm.
online, like on our like the websites and stuff.
Yeah.
The pilot episode hit 1 million views just recently, and we passed over 100,000 subscribers, which is great considering that we, aren't backed by any major studio,
Hmm.
and it's just the extras. They help make the show what it is. And
Hmm.
I think when you see season one, there's going to be certain scenes where it's the extras are fantastic. Like some of them are
Hmm.
just outright hilarious. That's the thing. I can't tell you,
Hmm.
but it's just when you're part of a project that's like this, and the greatness comes from the top all the way to the bottom, and you realize there is no top, there is no bottom. It's just one
Hmm.
level of just fantastic greatness, and everybody's on the same level. Everybody gets treated the same. That's the kind of environment that's on the chosen that we will be bringing to the promised land. And those extras, they came and set the tone for us. They were wonderful, loving. They were interested and interesting. So those extras, thank you.
I was when I saw that there's that opportunity, part of me was like, I would really, really like to do that, but
Oh,
wasn't in
that'd
the
have been great
cards
to
just
have
with,
you.
yeah,
That would have
maybe,
been awesome. Next
maybe
season.
down the road. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next season. Yeah, no, seriously, that'd be great. We got to get
Hmm.
pictures together.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Well, yeah. Thanks so much, Dav, for joining us. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to hear about kind of your journey and hear about both of these projects. And yeah, especially with the Promised Land kind of early stages, I'm really hopeful for where it's going. Like I said, if you're still at the end of this video and you have not watched the pilot, please go watch it. It's really funny, really
Thank
good.
you.
And yeah, sign up for all the socials and stuff like that for the Promised Land, so you can be aware of all the different stuff that's going on with it. But thank you, Dav, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
and thanks everybody for listening to the Bible Artist Podcast. Godspeed.